Hallo liebe Fight-Fans, an meiner Seite Vale-Tudo-Legende Wallid Ismail, der mit Sicherheit sehr viel über den Sport zu sagen hat, unter anderem auch Präsident der Jungle Fight Association ist. Wallid, first of all, thank you very much for your time. Tough season is now going on in Brazil. How is MMA now in Brazil?
The MMA in Brazil is unbelievable, it's great, doing wonderful. The rating on TV is incredible. We now, when you put UFC on TV, on global TV, we beat the soccer on the same weekend. This is unbelievable 10 years ago, but now is a reality. What Dan White, Lorenzo Fertitta, and the whole UFC crew do for this sport is wonderful.
But before we talk about the present and the future of the MMA sport, you are a legend of the Vale-Tudo fights, really a legend. You fought the International Vale-Tudo Championships. You are the guys who fought without gloves, with headbutts. Do you think this style is still able here in nowadays?
Now in our days, this style cannot fit. You know what I mean? This was the beginning of the sport. It's funny, when you put a lot of rules, I was against on the time. But now I'm the biggest support. Because the rules is very important. In the end of the day, if you have something, have no rules, it's not good. Always need to have a rules, need to have a judge, protection. The most important is the safety of the athletes, the safety of the best athletes in the world. The MMA fighter is the best athlete in the world. There's no doubt about it. You imagine, you need to understand, you need to be good in jiu-jitsu, judo, karate, taekwondo, wrestling, box, muay thai. You need to be good strength, condition, and you need to be smart. Every MMA fighter needs to be smart because you need to know how to play the game, the strategy. And this is the sport, MMA, UFC is the sport of the moment. You know what I mean? This is unbelievable. We talked a little bit ago, you talk about the GnP-TV, banned
From TV, yes.
MMA from TV, banned UFC from TV. This is unreal. When you ban MMA, UFC from TV, you go against the world. You go against the rationality, you know what I mean? But I think the TV, the politicians are going to see this cannot happen. You know what I mean? There's no place for Bennett, no place for censure, censure the sport. You understand what they say? Like, no place anymore. The sport have rules, have many rules. Have like, you need to dedicate, you need to have like, no, my English is run
okay.
away, but you need to be like an athlete. The most important, the fighter need to be an athlete. Need to have to be close of the family, far for the drugs, far for the bad things. And the MMA, the sport of this sport, the UFC, is the best thing for the athletes, for the persons, because you stay close of the family and far away for the drugs. And all the benefits.
I told to the audience you are also president of the Jungle Fights. Can you give us a thought about how it's difficult for Brazil organizations nowadays because the UFC is so big? What can you tell us about Jungle Fights?
No, I just can tell good about UFC. You know what I mean? UFC opened the door for everybody. If you are here, are here, it's because UFC. If I make good money in Brazil right now, it's because the UFC showed the world MMA is a sport. MMA not like it was before, no holds bar. We call Vale Tudo, like no holds bar, you know what I mean? I just say thank you for UFC. I want UFC do every month's event in Brazil. You know what I mean? Just good for everybody. You know, the people say bad things about UFC, say bad things about MMA, because the UFC is the synonym of MMA. UFC create MMA, you know, because before was no rules bar. Like is the bench, is the beginning of the sport is because UFC, there's no doubt about. And I just can say good things about Lorenzo Fertitta, Dan White, Joe Silva, and all the MMA, all the UFC crew. You know what I mean? These guys is the best in the world. Every guy who work there is because it's the best in the world. You know what I mean? Every country UFC going, open the door. Sometimes I see in the internet people talk bad about UFC. This is a joke. If you're not UFC, if you're not Dan White, if you're not Lorenzo, we don't have this sport. The sport not big, like big right now, like it's big right now. And I'm the biggest supporter of these guys and UFC.
Do you see there opportunity to bring fighters from your organization into the UFC?
For sure, for sure. UFC need the organizations all over the world because he need new fighters. You understand? And for sure, it's my big pleasure, big like honor to have all my champions, all my champions went to UFC and they're doing good. We have about many guys come from jungle fight to UFC, because I always say the jungle fight, because we are in Europe, jungle fight is the, well, ours in Brazil we compare with soccer.
Okay.
We say Brazil is the champion league, jungle fight is the Champions League, and UFC the World Cup. You understand? It's that simple. UFC is the biggest you can have, and the Champions League need the World Cup. You know what I mean? Yeah. And I need World Cup. And the World Cup, for sure, I have appreciation to get my fighters, because UFC knows the best fighters come from jungle fight, because I'm not teacher. You know what I mean? I just put the best fighters to fight with the best. And I'm glad to work with UFC, and I'm grateful for UFC exist. Not just grateful, I'm thankful, you know what I mean? Because he make the sport, these guys make the sport, and now put the sport to be the biggest sport in the world. And I say to the guys from TV, the guys from politics, because for sure, there's a politician side to ban MMA for TV, just politics.
Talking about big things, there's a big fight coming up. Chael Sonnen will face Anderson Silva for the second time in the biggest stadium ever in Brazil. Chael is very good known in Brazil. He talks some smack about the Brazilian population and something like that. Do you think Chael will survive this stadium?
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. Chael, I tell to everybody in Brazil, he's great for the sport. You know what I mean? He's the guy made so bad things, but they have so big amount. People want to see him lost. You understand? And the people is going to have 80,000 people to watch this fight. I just can congratulate Chael Sonnen. You know what I mean? Because he's doing good for the sport. I bet Dan White appreciate what he do it. You know what I mean? But now he need to perform. You understand? The talk is good for now, but when the door of the cage close, no more talk. You know what I mean? No more talk. It's the fight time. This make the sport the best sport in the world. No talk, no bullshit when the door of the cage close.
But talking about performing, you are well known as a fighter who is very emotional. I think they talk about you. You have the fiercest stare down ever see in the MMA sport. What do you think is emotional a big factor of this sport?
I'm gonna say something. Today, I talked to Paulo Thiago gonna fight. He come from jungle fight. I talked to Honey. He was with me. I say, the fighter needs to be a champion. You understand? This is what I pass for the fighters come from jungle fight. You need to be the champion. You can ask me Joe Silva, you can ask me Sean. You understand? I never choose a fighter. Here the guys call me, Wallid, your fighter gonna fight this guy. I say, thank you. I just ask, he have two arms, two legs? He said, yes, no matter the name. The guys come from jungle fight need to be ready for anyone. You understand? And I talk to the guys, you need the trainer to be the champion. You cannot be a fighter, just one more fighter. You understand? The guys I work with need to be the champions. If the guy is not hungry enough to be the champion, I say, hey, I don't have time to lose. And I move forward. This was my life. My life, I want to be the champion of my life. If I fall, I stand up stronger. Because the mind, the will, the attitude is the most important in this sport. No another sport you can have this attitude. It's a man sport. You know what I mean? This sport, I love what I do it. You know what I mean? I come here, you know, I get long fly, you know, I arrive, I just run 1 hour. You understand? 1 hour, just run 1 hour, and I'm happy here because I do what I love. I still work in the biggest sport in the world. I tell you, I talked about this 20 years ago. When they say, hey, this is going to be the biggest sport in the world, the people laugh. And then now it's the reality because UFC. What UFC do it, you know what I mean? I'm the biggest fan. And who I'm going to repeat that? Who talk bad about UFC, talk bad about the sport. One time I see some box guys in the States talk bad about UFC. This is a joke. These guys cannot open the mouth to say nothing about UFC, to say nothing. What the name of the guy? The guy, Bobby Iron, say all bad things about UFC. This guy is a joke. You know what I mean? You remember the Gary Shaw? Gary Shaw want to come for the sport, yeah. The MMA. These guys didn't stand. MMA is a different sport. It's a man sport. And these guys, this promoter, box promoter, not man enough to be manager, to be a producer MMA.
Would you go so far, if anyone is telling bad or saying bad things about MMA sport, he got a private problem with you?
Not private property, problems with me. He's got problems with the world. Because this is the best sport in the world, you know what I mean? This is amazing sport, you understand? Who talk bad about UFC? I don't know what to say. Just say, you know what I mean? What? Go to one UFC event. You're going to have emotion you never imagined you can have in your whole life. Because when you watch, you see the lights, you see the sound, you see the fighters with everything he can get, he go inside the cage. This is the difference of MMA. You understand? This is the difference of UFC. You need to have everything. You need to put everything you have inside the cage.
Thank you very much for this deep insight of view of yours. Last question I have. Why do you think are the Brazilian fighters have so much success in this sport?
MMA, no who's bar, is come from Brazil. The Brazilians have the fight inside, you know what I mean? You have the soul of your fighter, you understand? But now all over the world have this gut, you understand? This special gift. But for sure, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu still make a lot of difference, but the all world know about the Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. And many countries have good fighters, you know what I mean? Even Germany is growing, Italians growing. Alessio Sakara is going to fight. He lived a long time in Brazil. You know what I mean? Many fighters all over the world come good. But Brasilia have the get. And the MMAs come from Brazil. No whose boss come from Brazil. The people cannot forget that.
At least I have also a last question, I promise.
No, don't worry.
If some German fighters now listen to you and say, oh, that he's speaking from heart, I want to train with Wallid Ismail. Is there an opportunity to train with you?
No, you know, it's funny. When I was a fighter, I transitioned the fighter to a president of jungle fight. This was the transition, you understand? Transition. And I never, like, I have the ability and the desire to teach. It's funny. I will have desire to develop new fighters, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like you are a good coach, I'm going to work with the good coach to put the best fighters. And if you're from Germany and you want to fight in Brazil on Jungle Fight, you can go for junglefc.com.br and put your name and have contact, but in Portuguese, and they have. I'm gonna put now the website in English, and you go there, found the place, put your profile, and see if you're good. You can fight in Brazil, because this is a good door for UFC. Is a good door, good window for the biggest championship promotions in the world.
Thank you very much for this opportunity.
Thank you, my brother.
I hope we see some German fighters in the jungle fight
doubt,
soon.
no doubt.
Thank you very much.